I woke up at 3 a.m. to feed my baby. My breasts were heavy, aching, full of milk for my daughter. I walked to the nursery half asleep, already imagining her little mouth latching on her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. I reached into the crib. My hands touched cold sheets. The crib was empty. My 3-day-old daughter was gone. And so was my mother-in-law. For the next 6 hours, I did not know if my baby was alive or dead. I did not know if I would ever hold her again. I did not know if the woman who smiled in my face for 7 years had taken my child to love her or to destroy me. My husband told me I was overreacting. He said I was being hormonal. He said his mother would never hurt our baby. His mother told the police I was mentally unstable. She told them I was a danger to my own child. She had photos. She had recordings. She had a doctor who had never even examined me backing up her lies. They almost took me away instead of looking for my daughter. But here is what Gloria Thompson did not know about me. I am not just a new mother. I am not just a tired woman in a bathrobe crying on her kitchen floor. I am a forensic accountant. I investigate fraud for a living. I find the money people hide. I uncover the lies people bury. I build cases that send people to prison. And what I found about my mother-in-law did not just get my baby back. It destroyed her entire world. Let me tell you how a woman who tried to steal my newborn ended up losing everything she ever had. But first, let me tell you how I missed every single warning sign. How I let her into my home. How I trusted her with the most precious thing I have ever created. Because this story is not just about a crazy mother-in-law. This story is about how the people closest to us can be planning our destruction while we are too exhausted, too trusting, too focused on being good to see it coming. If you are a mother, this story will terrify you. If you have a mother-in-law, this story will make you look at her differently. If you have ever been gaslit, manipulated, or made to feel crazy when you knew something was wrong, this story will validate every instinct you ever had. My name is Maya Thompson. I am 34 years old, and this is the story of how I got my baby back and burned my mother-in-law's life to the ground. Before I tell you everything, I need you to do something for me. If you have ever dealt with a toxic mother-in-law who smiled in your face while plotting behind your back, hit that subscribe button right now. If you have ever been told you were being emotional when you knew something was wrong like this video, if you have ever had to fight for what was yours against people who thought you were weak, comment below and tell me where you are watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches. I want to know how many women out there have been through something like this. Because what I am about to tell you is not just my story. It is the story of every woman who has ever been underestimated by people who thought they could take what belonged to her. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when I thought I had everything I ever wanted. Back to when I thought my mother-in-law was just an overbearing woman who wanted to be involved. Back to when I was so happy, so grateful, so blind that I could not see the trap being built around me. 3 months before my daughter was taken, I was standing in my mother's living room at my baby shower, and I had never been happier in my entire life. You have to understand what this baby meant to me. Darnell and I had been trying for 5 years. 5 years of negative pregnancy tests. 5 years of watching my friends have babies while my womb stayed empty. 5 years of people asking when we were going to start a family, not knowing that every question was a knife in my heart. We did 3 rounds of IVF, 3 rounds of hormone shots that made me gain weight and lose my mind, 3 rounds of hoping and praying and begging God for just one child, just one. And finally, that 3rd round worked. I was pregnant. I was going to be a mother. So when I stood in my mama's living room that day, 7 months pregnant, surrounded by pink balloons and baby clothes and women who loved me, I felt like I had won the lottery of life. I felt like everything I had suffered through was worth it for this moment. My mama Ruth Jenkins had outdone herself. The food was incredible. Collard greens, mac and cheese, fried chicken pound cake. The decorations were beautiful. Pink and gold everywhere, fit for the princess I was carrying. My best friend Keisha was there already planning playdates between my daughter and her 2 kids. My coworkers from the firm had come. Everyone I loved was in that room. And then Gloria Thompson walked in. My mother-in-law arrived 45 minutes late, which was her way of making an entrance. She walked through the door like she was the guest of honor, not me. She was wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, and she was carrying a gift bag so big it took 2 hands to hold. The room got quieter when she entered. Not silent, but quieter. That was the effect Gloria had on people. She demanded attention without asking for it. She walked straight to me, kissed both my cheeks like we were in Paris instead of Memphis, and handed me the gift bag. "Open it now," she said. "I want to see your face." Inside was a designer baby blanket cashmere with the initials GZT embroidered on it. Gloria Zuri Thompson. She had put her own initial first. I did not notice at the time. I was too busy being polite, being grateful, being the good daughter-in-law I had always tried to be. "This is beautiful," I said. "Thank you, Gloria." She smiled, but her eyes went to my belly. She looked at my stomach the way a person looks at something they want to own. Not with love, with hunger. "I am surprised you carried this long," she said. "I was worried about your age. I was 34, not 44, 34. But that was Gloria. Every compliment came with a cut. Every kindness came with a knife hidden inside. I saw my mama watching from across the room. Her jaw was tight. Her eyes were sharp. She did not trust Gloria. She had never trusted Gloria. From the first time I brought Darnell home, my mama had pulled me aside and said, "That boy is fine, but his mama got snake eyes. Watch yourself." I did not listen. I thought mama was being overprotective. I thought she was being dramatic. I thought Gloria was just a strong woman who loved her son, and strong women sometimes rub each other the wrong way. I was a fool. Later that day, after most of the guests had left, I saw Gloria talking to her daughter Tanya in the corner of the kitchen. They did not know I could see them from where I was sitting. Gloria was whispering something and Tanya was nodding, and then Gloria said something that made Tanya look directly at me. I could not hear what they said, but I saw the look on Gloria's face. It was not the face of a happy grandmother. It was the face of a woman making plans. I told myself I was imagining things. Pregnancy hormones, anxiety about becoming a mother. I was probably just being paranoid. But something in my gut twisted. Something in my spirit said, "Pay attention." I did not pay attention. Over the next few weeks, Gloria started making suggestions, little ones at first. She thought I should deliver at St. Mary's Hospital because her friend Dr. Patterson worked there. She thought I should set up a nursery at her house too for when we visited. She thought I should consider formula instead of breastfeeding because breastfeeding was so demanding. Every suggestion was delivered with a smile. Every suggestion was framed as concern. Every suggestion was designed to give her more access, more control, more involvement in decisions that should have been mine alone. I said no to all of it, politely, respectfully, but firmly. I was going to deliver at the hospital my own doctor recommended. I was going to breastfeed my baby. I was not going to set up a nursery at her house because we lived 30 minutes away and it made no sense. Gloria smiled when I said no, but her eyes did not smile. Her eyes got harder, colder, like I was a problem she needed to solve. I should have known then. I should have seen it. But I was so focused on preparing for my baby, so exhausted from the pregnancy, so determined to keep the peace in my marriage that I convinced myself everything was fine. Everything was not fine. Everything was about to fall apart. My daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in March. I was 38 weeks pregnant when my doctor scheduled the C-section. Zuri was breech, which meant she was positioned wrong for a natural birth. Her head was up instead of down, and she was not going to turn. So, we planned the surgery, picked the date, and I spent the night before praying that everything would go smoothly. My birth plan was simple. I wanted my mama in the delivery room with me. I wanted skin-to-skin contact with my baby immediately after birth. I wanted to breastfeed within the first hour. I wanted peace and quiet and bonding time with my daughter. What I got was Gloria Thompson trying to take over from the moment I arrived at the hospital. She was already in the waiting room when Darnell and I got there at 5 in the morning. She was sitting there with a cup of coffee and a magazine like she had been waiting for hours. "I want to be in the delivery room," she announced before I even finished checking in. I had already told her no. I had told her weeks ago that I wanted my mama with me, not her. I had explained that the hospital only allowed one support person in the operating room during a C-section. I had been clear. But Gloria did not accept no. "It is my grandchild," she said. "I have a right to be there." Darnell looked at me caught in the middle. He hated conflict. He always hated conflict, especially when it involved his mother. He would rather let me fight my own battles than stand up to her, and that morning was no different. "Mamaya wants her mother there," he said, but his voice was weak. There was no conviction in it. Gloria's face tightened. "Fine," she said, "but I will be waiting right outside that door. The second that baby is born, I want to see her." I was too tired and too nervous to argue. I just nodded and let the nurses take me to prep for surgery. The C-section itself went smoothly. I was awake but numb from the waist down, lying on an operating table while doctors cut me open to pull out my baby. My mama held my hand the entire time, talking to me, keeping me calm, telling me everything was going to be okay. And then I heard it. The most beautiful sound I had ever heard in my life. My baby crying. "She is here," my mama said, and there were tears streaming down her face. "She is here, baby. You did it." The doctors lifted her up so I could see her. She was tiny and wrinkled and covered in fluid, and she was the most perfect thing I had ever seen. They laid her on my chest, and the second she touched my skin, the second I felt her warm little body against mine, I knew I would die for this child. I would kill for this child. I would do anything in this world to protect her. "Her name is Zuri," I whispered. "Zuri Ruth Thompson." I named her after my grandmother, my mama's mother, a woman who had raised 7 children on a sharecropper's wages and never complained once. Zuri means beautiful in Swahili. It was perfect for her. For those first few minutes, everything was perfect. Just me and my mama and my baby girl. Just the 3 generations of Jenkins women sharing a moment that I will remember for the rest of my life. And then the door burst open. Gloria did not knock. She did not wait for permission. She just walked in like she owned the room, like she had every right to be there, like rules did not apply to her. "Let me see her," she said, coming straight toward my bed. "Let me hold my grandbaby." My mama stepped in front of her. "Her mama has not even held her yet," my mama said. "You need to wait." The look Gloria gave my mama could have frozen fire. It was pure hatred, pure contempt, barely concealed beneath a thin smile. "Of course," Gloria said. She stepped back, but her eyes stayed on Zuri. "I am just so excited. I should have said something then. I should have told her to get out, told her she was out of line, told her that bursting into a room where I was lying with my insides literally stitched back together was not acceptable. But I was exhausted and emotional and high on the joy of finally having my baby in my arms. I let it go. That was my second mistake. The hospital stay was supposed to be 2 days. 2 days of recovery, of learning to breastfeed, of bonding with my newborn daughter before bringing her home to start our life together. Gloria was there for every single minute of it. She showed up first thing in the morning and stayed until visiting hours ended. She brought flowers and balloons and gifts that she made sure to photograph for social media. She posted pictures of herself holding Zuri with captions like, "Grandma's little angel" and "best day of my life." But when the cameras were not out, her behavior was different. She criticized everything I did. When I tried to breastfeed, she hovered over me and told me I was doing it wrong, that Zuri was not latching properly, that I was not producing enough milk. When I looked tired, she told the nurses I was not coping well. When I got emotional, which happens to literally every woman who has just given birth, she whispered to Darnell that she was worried about my mental state. I did not know she was building a case against me. I did not know she was documenting every moment of struggle, every tear, every time I looked less than perfect. I did not know she was talking to nurses, to doctors, to anyone who would listen about her concerns for her granddaughter's safety. I thought she was just being an overbearing grandmother. I thought she was annoying but harmless. I was so incredibly wrong. One of the nurses seemed uncomfortable around Gloria. Her name was Patricia, and every time Gloria started talking about how worried she was about me, Patricia would avoid eye contact. She would find an excuse to leave the room. She would not engage. On my last night in the hospital, Patricia came to check on me when Gloria had finally gone home for the night. "Mrs. Thompson," she said quietly, "I am not supposed to say this, but you need to watch out for your mother-in-law." "What do you mean?" I asked. She has been asking a lot of questions about postpartum depression, about what happens when a mother cannot care for her child, about the process for reporting concerns to Child Protective Services. My blood went cold. "I am just telling you because I have seen this before," Patricia said. "Some grandmothers, they want control, and they will do anything to get it." I thanked her, but I did not know what to do with the information. I was exhausted. I was overwhelmed. I was trying to figure out how to be a mother while recovering from major surgery. I convinced myself Patricia was overreacting. I convinced myself Gloria was just an anxious grandmother. I convinced myself that no one, no matter how controlling, would actually try to take a baby from its mother. I was about to find out how wrong I was. The day I brought Zuri home from the hospital was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. Darnell drove carefully, going 10 miles under the speed limit, checking the rearview mirror every few seconds to make sure our baby was okay in her car seat. I sat in the back with her, my hand on her tiny chest, feeling it rise and fall with each breath. She was so small, so fragile, so perfect. When we pulled into our driveway, I saw Gloria's Lexus already parked there. My heart sank. I had not invited her over. I had not told her what time we were coming home. I had been hoping, praying really for just one day alone with my new family. One day to figure out breastfeeding without someone watching. One day to cry if I needed to cry. One day to just be a new mother without Gloria's judgmental eyes on every move I made. But there she was waiting on our front porch with a suitcase beside her. Surprise, she set her arms spread wide like she was presenting me with a gift. "I am going to stay for a few weeks to help out." I looked at Darnell. He looked at the ground. He had known. He had known, and he had not told me. "Is not this great, babe?" he said. His voice was too cheerful, the way it always got when he was trying to avoid conflict. "Ma wants to help with the baby so you can rest and recover." What could I say? We were standing in our driveway. I was holding a 3-day-old infant, and my mother-in-law had already moved her suitcase into my house. If I made a scene, I would be the bad guy. I would be the ungrateful daughter-in-law who did not appreciate help. I would be proving every nasty thing Gloria had probably been saying about me behind my back. So I smiled. I said thank you. I walked into my own house and pretended I was happy to have her there. By the time I got Zuri settled in her nursery, Gloria had already taken over my kitchen. She was rearranging my cabinets, reorganizing my refrigerator, throwing away food she deemed unacceptable. "You need to eat better," she said without looking at me, "for your milk supply." I bit my tongue and went to my bedroom to try to take a nap while Zuri slept. But I could not sleep. I could hear Gloria downstairs opening drawers, moving furniture, talking on the phone to someone about how tired I looked, how I clearly could not handle motherhood on my own. That first night, Zuri woke up at 2 in the morning to feed. Before I could even get out of bed, I heard footsteps in the hallway. By the time I got to the nursery, Gloria was already there, lifting my baby out of the crib. "I have got her," Gloria said. "Go back to sleep. I need to feed her," I said. "I am breastfeeding. You look exhausted. Just let me give her a bottle. I found some formula in the cabinet." "I do not have formula in my cabinet. I bought some, just in case." "Your supply seemed low at the hospital." I took Zuri from her arms, maybe a little too roughly because Gloria's eyes widened in surprise. "I am breastfeeding my daughter," I said. "Please do not give her a bottle without asking me first." Gloria's face went cold. "I was just trying to help," she said, "but I can see my help is not wanted." She walked out of the nursery, and I sat down in the rocking chair to feed my baby. My hands were shaking. My milk let down in a painful rush, soaking through my nightgown. "This is my house," I whispered to Zuri as she latched on. "This is my baby. Why do I feel like I am the guest?" The next morning, I woke up to find Tanya in my living room. Darnell's sister had shown up at some point while I was sleeping. She was sprawled on my couch in sweatpants eating cereal out of a bowl she had taken from my kitchen watching my television. "I took some time off work to help," she said. "Is not that great? No." It was not great. It was a nightmare. Now I had two of them in my house. Two women who had never liked me, who had always thought their brother and son deserved better, who had spent 7 years looking down on me despite the fact that I made more money than Darnell owned more than he did, and had never once asked the Thompson family for anything. They moved through my home like they owned it. Gloria cooked meals I did not ask for and then criticized me for not eating enough. Tanya sat on my couch all day and expected me to wait on her. When visitors came to see the baby, Gloria answered my door and told them when they could hold my daughter and how long they could stay. I felt like a ghost in my own home, like I was haunting a life that used to be mine. My mama came to visit on the second day. She took one look at the situation and pulled me into the bedroom. "Maya," she said, her voice low and serious, "something is not right here." "I know, Mama, but what am I supposed to do? She will not even let me hold my own grandbaby properly. Every time I reach for her, Gloria swoops in. This is not help, baby. This is control." "I will talk to Darnell," I said. "You have been talking to Darnell for 7 years," my mama said. "When is he going to listen?" I did not have an answer for that. That night, I tried again. I told Darnell that I appreciated his mother's help, but I needed space. I needed to bond with my baby without someone watching my every move. I needed to figure out how to be a mother in my own way, not Gloria's way. Darnell sighed like I was being unreasonable. "She is just trying to help, babe. You are being hormonal." Hormonal. That word. That dismissive, demeaning word that men use to make women feel crazy for having feelings. "I am not being hormonal," I said. "I am being a mother who wants to raise her own child, and my mother is being a grandmother who wants to help. Why do you always have to make everything so difficult?" I stared at my husband, the man I had been with for 10 years, the man I had married, the man whose child I had just pushed from my body, and I realized something that broke my heart. Darnell would never choose me over his mother, not when it mattered, not when it counted. He would always take the easy path, and the easy path was letting Gloria do whatever Gloria wanted. I was on my own. My best friend Keisha came over the next afternoon. She is an ER nurse, mother of 2, and the most no-nonsense woman I know. She took one look at my house, one look at Gloria holding my baby while I sat alone on the couch, and her face hardened. "Can I talk to you in the bedroom?" she said. It was not a question. We went to my room and closed the door. "Girl," Keisha said, "why is your mother-in-law answering your door? Why does she have your baby more than you do?" "She is helping," I said, but even I did not believe it anymore. "That is not help. That is a takeover. I do not know what to do, Keisha. I am so tired, I can barely think straight." "That is exactly what she is counting on," Keisha said. "She is waiting for you to be so exhausted that you give up. You need to establish boundaries right now today before this gets worse." I knew she was right, but I was 3 days postpartum recovering from major surgery, running on no sleep, and trying to figure out how to keep another human being alive. I did not have the energy to fight. "Just give me a few more days," I said. "I will figure it out." Keisha looked at me with worry in her eyes. "Do not wait too long," she said. "I have seen this before, Maya. Women like Gloria, they do not stop until they get what they want." I thought she was exaggerating. She was not. The day before, Gloria took my baby. She took me to the pediatrician. That sounds innocent, does not it? A grandmother offering to drive her exhausted daughter-in-law to a doctor's appointment. Helpful, supportive, kind. It was none of those things. Gloria had insisted on driving because I was still sore from the C-section and should not be behind the wheel. She had insisted on coming into the appointment because new mothers often forget important information, and she wanted to make sure we did not miss anything. I was too tired to argue. I was always too tired to argue now. 3 days of Gloria and Tanya in my house had drained me of every ounce of energy I had. In the waiting room, Gloria made small talk with the other mothers. She was charming. She was warm. She told everyone how worried she was about me, how I was struggling, how she had moved in to help because she could not stand to see her son's wife suffering. The other mothers looked at me with sympathy. Poor thing, their eyes said. Thank God she has such a wonderful mother-in-law to help. When we got called back to see the doctor, Gloria followed without asking permission. She sat in the corner of the examination room like she belonged there, like this was her child too. The pediatrician was a young woman, maybe 30, who probably saw 100 babies a week. She examined Zuri, declared her healthy, and then asked how I was doing. Before I could answer, Gloria spoke. She has been struggling, Gloria said. She shook her head slowly, performatively sad. The breastfeeding has been difficult. She is not producing enough milk, and the baby seems hungry all the time. And she has been very emotional, crying a lot. I am honestly concerned about her mental state. I sat there in shock. This woman was telling lies about me to a doctor. Bold, blatant lies. Zuri was gaining weight. She was healthy. My milk had come in just fine. Yes, I had cried. Every new mother cries. It is called having a baby. It is called being human. But the doctor did not know that. The doctor only knew what Gloria was telling her, and Gloria was painting a picture of a woman falling apart. The doctor looked at me with concern. Mrs. Thompson, how are you feeling? Any thoughts of harming yourself or the baby? What? No. I am fine. I am just tired. She has not been sleeping, Gloria added. She seems overwhelmed. I have been doing most of the night feedings because she just cannot handle it. Another lie. I had been doing the night feedings. Gloria had tried to take over and I had stopped her. But who was the doctor going to believe, the concerned grandmother who seemed calm and rational, or the exhausted new mother with dark circles under her eyes and unwashed hair? The doctor made a note in her chart. You might want to talk to your OB about postpartum depression screening, she said to me. It is very common. Nothing to be ashamed of. I am not depressed, I said. But even to my own ears, my voice sounded weak. We left the appointment with Gloria practically radiating satisfaction. She had planted seeds. She had told a medical professional that I was struggling. She was building her case and I was too blind and too tired to see it. That night, I could not find my phone. I searched everywhere. The bedroom, the living room, the nursery. I asked Darnell if he had seen it. He had not. I asked Gloria. Oh, she said I plugged it in to charge for you. It should be in the kitchen somewhere. It was not in the kitchen. It took me 30 minutes to find it buried under a pile of towels in the laundry room, and when I finally found it, I had missed 3 calls from my mama and 2 from Keisha. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence. Gloria had probably just set it down somewhere and forgotten, but something in my gut said otherwise. My breast pump went missing next. I went to pump before bed, and the pump was not where I had left it. I searched the house in a panic. I needed that pump. I needed to maintain my supply store milk have backup for emergencies. I found it in the garage tucked behind some boxes covered in dust. I brought it to Gloria. Did you put this in the garage? She barely looked up from her magazine. Oh, yes. It was cluttering up the kitchen. I thought you did not need it anymore since you have been supplementing with formula. I have not been supplementing with formula. She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. Oh, I thought you knew. I gave Zuri a bottle this afternoon while you were sleeping. She seemed hungry. My blood pressure spiked so hard I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I told you not to give her bottles without asking me, I said. My voice was rising. I could not control it. You were sleeping. You looked so tired. I was just trying to help. You are not helping. You are undermining everything I am trying to do. Gloria's face changed. The mask slipped for just a second and I saw what was underneath. Cold, calculated, hateful. You should be careful, Maya, she said. Her voice was soft. Dangerous. Stress is not good for new mothers. It can affect your mental health. She said mental health the way someone would say cancer. Like it was a diagnosis. Like it was a weapon. I went to find Darnell. I told him what his mother had said, what she had done, how she had fed our baby formula behind my back and hidden my breast pump. He sighed, that exhausted put-upon sigh that made me want to scream. She is just trying to help Maya. You are being paranoid. Paranoid. Yes, paranoid. Ma said you have been acting strange. She is worried about you. Honestly, I am starting to worry too. I stared at my husband, the father of my child, and I saw him clearly for the first time. He was not on my side. He had never been on my side. He was his mother's son first and everything else second. That night, I snuck a call to my mama. I had to whisper because Gloria's room was right next to mine and I was terrified she would hear. "Mama," I said, and I started crying. I could not stop the tears. "I do not know what is happening. I feel like I am losing my mind." "You are not losing your mind," my mama said. "You are being gaslit. That woman is trying to make you feel crazy so she can take control." "What do I do?" "Document everything, starting right now. Write down every lie she tells, everything she does, every time she undermines you, and get her out of your house." "I will talk to Darnell tomorrow," I said. "I will tell him she has to go." "Good," my mama said. "And Maya, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong." I promised her I would handle it. I promised her I would be strong. I promised her I would protect my baby. I fell asleep planning exactly what I would say to Darnell in the morning. How I would be firm but calm. How I would give Gloria a deadline to leave. How I would take back control of my home and my child. I never got the chance. Because at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to feed my baby, and my baby was gone. I will never forget the feeling of reaching into that empty crib. My hands touched cold sheets where my baby should have been. My fingers searched frantically, patting the mattress, pulling back the blankets, refusing to believe what my eyes were telling me. She was not there. "Zuri," I called out. My voice was barely a whisper at first, then louder. "Zuri! Zuri!" I ran out of the nursery. My C-section incision screamed in protest, but I did not care. I checked the hallway. Empty. I ran to the guest room where Gloria had been sleeping. The door was open. The bed was made. Her suitcase was gone. Her toiletries, her shoes, her clothes. Everything she had brought into my house was gone. "Gloria!" I screamed. "Gloria!" "Where are you? Where is my baby?" No answer. Just silence. That terrible, crushing silence of an empty house in the middle of the night. I ran downstairs. Tanya's things were gone too. The living room looked cleaner than it had in days, like someone had deliberately tidied up before leaving. The car seat by the front door was missing. The diaper bag I kept packed for emergencies was missing. My baby was missing. I found Darnell asleep on the couch. He was supposed to be watching Zuri while I rested. That was what he had told me when I went to bed. "I will watch her, babe. Get some sleep." I shook him awake. My hands were rough, desperate. "Where is the baby? Where is your mother?" He blinked up at me, confused and groggy. "What?" "She is in the nursery." "No, she is not. The crib is empty. Your mother is gone. All her things are gone. Where is my baby Darnell?" He sat up slowly, too slowly. "She said she was going to take her for a drive, to help her sleep. At 3 in the morning, with all her luggage. What your mother's suitcase is gone. Her clothes are gone. She packed up and left, and she took our baby with her." Darnell's face changed as the reality sank in. He grabbed his phone and called Gloria. I watched him, my whole body shaking, my arms wrapped around myself because they ached to hold my daughter. The phone rang 5 times, 6 times. Voicemail. He called again. Same result. I grabbed my own phone and called 911. 911, what is your emergency? "My baby has been taken, my 3-day-old daughter. My mother-in-law took her in the middle of the night without my permission. Ma'am, is there a custody dispute?" "No, I am married to her father. We both have custody. His mother came into my home and stole my child while I was sleeping." The operator asked for my address for details for a description of Gloria and Zuri. I gave her everything. I was crying so hard I could barely speak, but I gave her everything. "We will send officers to your location," she said. "Stay on the line." Darnell was still trying to call his mother. On his 4th attempt, she finally answered. I could only hear his side of the conversation. "Ma, where are you?" "Where is Zuri?" A pause. His face got paler. "What do you mean you are protecting her?" Another pause. "Protecting her from what?" He looked at me. His eyes were wide, scared. "Maya is right here. She is not." Ma, she is not unstable. What are you talking about? Give me the phone, I said. I grabbed it from his hands. Gloria, Gloria. Where is my daughter? Her voice was calm, cold, the voice of a woman who had planned this moment for months. Maya, she said, I am doing what is best for Zuri. Bring her back. Right now. Bring my baby back. I cannot do that. You are not well, Maya. Everyone can see it. The doctors, the nurses, even Darnell. You are not capable of caring for a newborn. I am her mother. Being a mother is more than biology. It is about stability, competence, mental fitness. And you have none of those things. I will call the police. The police have already been called. I called them earlier tonight to report my concerns about my granddaughter's safety. I told them her mother has been showing signs of postpartum psychosis, that she has been emotional erratic, potentially dangerous. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the floor, the phone still pressed to my ear. I have documentation, Gloria continued. Photos, recordings, a statement from a doctor who shares my concerns. When the police arrive, they will not be looking for me. They will be evaluating you. You are insane, I whispered. No, honey. Gloria's voice was almost sweet, almost motherly. That is what I am proving about you. Now I am going to hang up. I will bring Zuri back when you have gotten the help you need. Until then, she is safer with me. The line went dead. I sat on the floor of my living room, surrounded by the evidence of Gloria's careful planning. The tidied rooms, the missing baby supplies, the documentation she had been building for months. I understood it all now. Every criticism, every undermining comment, every lie she told the doctors and nurses. Every time she took Zuri from my arms to help me rest. She had been building a case that I was unfit, a case that she could use to take my child. And now she had Zuri. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 2 officers, one older and one younger, both of them looking at me the way people look at someone they have already decided is the problem. Ma'am, the older officer said, we received a call earlier tonight about a welfare check at this address. A welfare check. Someone called concerned about postpartum psychosis, said there was a new mother here who might be a danger to her baby. I closed my eyes. Gloria had thought of everything. That was my mother-in-law, I said. She called to set up this narrative before she kidnapped my daughter. The officers exchanged a look, that skeptical look that told me they did not believe a word I was saying. Ma'am, the younger one said, maybe you should sit down. You seem upset. Of course I am upset. My baby has been taken. Your husband says his mother took the baby for a drive. At 3 in the morning, with all her belongings packed, he said she mentioned wanting to help the baby sleep. That does not sound like kidnapping. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab them both by the shoulders and shake them until they understood. But I knew how that would look. I knew that any display of emotion would only confirm Gloria's lies. So I took a breath. I steadied my voice. And I spoke like the professional I was. Officers, I said. My name is Maya Thompson. I am a forensic accountant at Richards & Associates. I investigate financial fraud for a living. I am not mentally ill. I am not unstable. I am a new mother whose baby was taken from my home without my consent. I handed them my business card. They looked at it. Their expressions shifted slightly. My mother-in-law has been planning this for months, I continued. She has been documenting my normal postpartum exhaustion and framing it as mental illness. She has been lying to doctors and nurses. She manufactured this crisis so she could take my child. Do you have any evidence of that? The older officer asked. I looked around my house. At the tidied rooms, the missing baby items, the careful way Gloria had covered her tracks. Not yet, I said, but I am going to find it. The officers stayed for another hour. They took a report. They said they would investigate. They told me that since Gloria was the baby's grandmother and there was no custody order in place, there was not much they could do tonight. They left me with a case number and a recommendation to get some rest. Rest. My baby was gone and they told me to rest. Darnell sat on the couch with his head in his hands. He had not spoken since the police left. I did not know if he was in shock or shame or denial. I did not care. I went to the kitchen table. I sat down. I opened my laptop, and I started to work. Because here is what Gloria Thompson did not understand about me. She thought she was dealing with a weak woman, a new mother, someone who would crumble under pressure and prove her right. But I am not weak. I have never been weak. I am a Black woman who has had to fight for everything she has ever had. I am a professional who builds cases for a living. I am a daughter and a friend, and now a mother, and no one takes what belongs to me without a fight. Gloria had taken my baby, but she had made a fatal mistake. She had left me alive. She had left me conscious. She had left me with every skill I had spent a decade developing, and I was going to use every single one of them to bring my daughter home and destroy the woman who tried to steal her from me. The war had just begun, and Gloria Thompson had no idea what was coming. The sun came up and my baby was still gone. I had not slept. I had not eaten. I had spent the hours between 3 a.m. and dawn making phone calls, sending emails, and trying to find any trace of where Gloria had taken my daughter. Darnell sat on the couch like a broken man. He had tried calling his mother 20 more times. She never answered. He had tried calling his sister Tanya. She did not answer either. He had tried reaching out to family, friends, distant relatives, anyone who might know where Gloria had gone. Nothing. At 7 in the morning, I told Darnell I was going to the police station. I was not going to wait for them to investigate. I was going to sit in that station until someone helped me find my child. Darnell wanted to come with me. I told him no. I told him to stay home in case Gloria came back. But the truth was, I did not want him there. I did not trust him anymore. I did not trust that he would not make excuses for his mother. I did not trust that he would fight as hard as I needed him to fight. This was my battle now, and I was going to fight it alone. The police station smelled like coffee and desperation. I sat in a plastic chair for 2 hours before a detective finally agreed to see me. His name was Detective Morrison, a tired-looking man in his 50s who had probably seen 1,000 cases just like mine. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, looking at a file on his desk, "I have reviewed the report from last night, and—" he sighed. That sigh that people give when they are about to disappoint you. "Your mother-in-law has not committed a crime. She took my baby. She took her grandchild for what she claims is a safety concern. There is no custody order in place. She is a family member with a legitimate relationship to the child. She is not the mother. I am the mother. I understand that. But in the eyes of the law, this is a family dispute, not a kidnapping." I wanted to flip his desk over. I wanted to scream until my throat bled, but I had learned a long time ago that Black women cannot afford to be angry in public. Anger makes us dangerous. Anger makes us unstable. Anger makes us exactly what Gloria was trying to prove I was. So I kept my voice calm. I kept my hands folded in my lap, and I spoke like the professional I was. "Detective Morrison," I said, "what evidence does my mother-in-law have to support her claims that I am unfit?" He looked uncomfortable. He shuffled some papers in the file. "She provided some documentation." "What kind of documentation?" He hesitated. Then he slid a folder across the desk to me. I opened it, and my blood turned to ice. There were photos. Photos of me looking exhausted, my hair unwashed, dark circles under my eyes. Photos of my living room looking messy, toys scattered everywhere, dishes in the sink. Photos of me crying, my face red and swollen, taken through what looked like a doorway. Gloria had been photographing me, in my own home, without my knowledge. She had been documenting every moment when I looked less than perfect and saving it as evidence against me. There were more pages. Credit card statements showing purchases of baby formula which Gloria had bought and then used as proof that I was not breastfeeding properly. A printout of text messages between Gloria and Darnell where she expressed concern about my mental state, and he agreed that I seemed overwhelmed. My own husband, agreeing with her, in writing. And then there was the worst document of all. A letter on medical letterhead from a Dr. Harold Patterson stating that based on his observations and conversations with family members, he had concerns about possible postpartum psychosis in the patient Maya Thompson. I had never met Dr. Patterson. I had never been examined by Dr. Patterson, but somehow he had written a letter diagnosing me with a mental illness. "This doctor has never seen me," I said. Mrs. Thompson has stated that Dr. Patterson is a family friend who observed you at several family gatherings. Observed me? He cannot diagnose me from across a room at a family gathering. That is not how medicine works. Detective Morrison shrugged. I am just telling you what is in the file. Look, Mrs. Thompson, I am not saying your mother-in-law is right. I am saying she has built a case, and until you can build a stronger one, there is not much we can do. So, what am I supposed to do? Just wait while she has my baby. You can file for emergency custody. You can get a lawyer. You can provide evidence that contradicts what she is claiming. He leaned forward, and for a moment, his tired eyes showed something like sympathy. Off the record. This looks planned to me. Your mother-in-law did not put this together overnight. She has been building this file for months. If I were you, I would start asking why. Why? What does she gain by taking your baby money control? There is always a motive, Mrs. Thompson. Find the motive and you will find your way out of this. I left the police station with that folder clutched in my hands. Gloria's evidence, her carefully constructed case that I was crazy. But Detective Morrison was right. There had to be a motive. Gloria was not doing this just because she wanted to be grandmother of the year. She was doing this for a reason, and I was going to find out what that reason was. I was sitting in my car in the police station parking lot staring at nothing when my phone rang. It was my mama. Baby, where are you? I have been calling all night. What is happening? I told her everything. The empty crib, Gloria's disappearance, the police, the folder full of evidence against me. I told her about the photos, the fake doctor's letter, the text messages between Gloria and Darnell. When I finished, my mama was quiet for a long moment. Then she said 3 words that changed everything. I am coming. 30 minutes later, my mama's old Honda pulled into my driveway. She got out of the car looking like she was ready for war. Her church clothes were on, her good wig was in place, and her eyes were blazing with the kind of righteous fury that only a black grandmother can summon. She walked into my house like she owned it. She looked at Darnell, who was still sitting on the couch looking useless, and she did not even acknowledge him. She came straight to me, wrapped her arms around me, and held me while I cried. I got you, baby, she said. We are going to get your daughter back. Mama, I do not know what to do. Gloria has evidence. She has a doctor saying I am crazy. She has photos and text messages, and I do not have anything. My mama pulled back and looked me in the eyes. You have your brain, Maya. You have your training. You have your friends, and you have me. That woman thinks she can outplan you. She does not know who she is dealing with. She pulled out her phone and started making calls. Within 2 hours, my living room looked like a war room. Keisha arrived first, still in her scrubs from the night shift. She brought coffee and determination and the no-nonsense attitude that had gotten her through her own custody battle 3 years ago. Attorney Denise Carter arrived next. She was a friend of my mama's from church, a family law specialist who had been practicing for 25 years. She was wearing a power suit and carrying a briefcase, and when she walked in, she looked like she was ready to tear Gloria Thompson apart. My mama had also called Dr. Patricia Wells, my OB-GYN, who had delivered Zuri. Dr. Wells could not come in person, but she had cleared her schedule for a phone consultation. We gathered around my kitchen table. Darnell tried to join us, but my mama stopped him with a look. You can stay in the living room, she said. This is for people who are actually going to help. Darnell looked at me, waiting for me to defend him. I did not. He had called me hormonal. He had agreed with his mother in text messages. He had let Gloria walk out of our house with our baby without even waking up. He could sit on the couch until I decided whether or not I was going to divorce him. Okay, Attorney Denise said, spreading papers across my table. Let us assess what we are dealing with. Maya, tell me everything from the beginning. I told her. I started with the baby shower 3 months ago and ended with the police station that morning. I showed her Gloria's evidence folder. I told her about Dr. Patterson's letter, the photos, the text messages. When I finished, Denise was nodding slowly. This is bad, she said, but it is not as bad as Gloria thinks it is. What do you mean? I mean she has built a case based on lies and manipulation, and lies can be exposed. Let us start with this doctor. Dr. Harold Patterson. You said you have never met him. Never. I have never even heard his name before today. Denise made a note. We will look into him. If he wrote a medical opinion without ever examining you, that is a serious ethical violation. Could cost him his license. Keisha leaned forward. What about the photos? Can we prove they were taken without Maya's consent? More importantly, Denise said, we can prove they were taken out of context. Maya, you said some of those photos were from when you were sick? Yes. About 2 weeks ago, I had a terrible cold. I was exhausted and looked awful. Gloria must have taken photos then. Do you have any proof you were sick? Doctor's visit prescription? I went to urgent care. They gave me antibiotics. I should have records. Good. That explains the exhausted photos. What about the messy house photos I thought back? The house had only been messy because Gloria and Tanya were living with us and not cleaning up after themselves. I had been too tired to keep up with their mess on top of caring for a newborn. The mess was mostly their stuff, I said. Their dishes, their magazines, their shoes everywhere. Keisha snorted. So she made your house messy and then took photos of it. That is some next-level manipulation. We are going to need to document everything from your side, Denise said. Your medical records from the hospital. Your pediatrician's records showing Zuri was healthy and well cared for. Character witnesses who can testify that you are a fit mother. And Maya, this is important. We need to establish why Gloria is doing this. That is what the detective said, I replied. He said to find the motive. Denise nodded. Custody battles are usually about one of 3 things: love control or money. Gloria has known you for 7 years. If this was about love or control, why now? Why wait until you had a baby to make her move? I had been asking myself the same question all morning. My mama spoke up from across the table. It is the money, she said. It is always the money with people like her. What money? I asked. Darnell and I are comfortable, but we are not rich. But his daddy was. Everyone turned to look at my mama. What do you mean, Mama? Your mother-in-law's husband, Donald Thompson. He passed about 5 years ago, right? Yes. A heart attack. It was sudden. My mama looked at me with knowing eyes, and he left money behind. A lot of money. I remember you telling me about it back when you and Darnell were dating. Some kind of trust or something. I felt something click in my brain. A piece of information I had filed away years ago when it did not seem important. Darnell's father had an estate, I said slowly. It was supposed to pass to his grandchildren. Denise's pen stopped moving. How much money are we talking about? I do not know exactly. Darnell said it was a few million. Real estate investments. His mother has been managing it as trustee. And who inherits the grandchildren? Darnell's father wanted it to skip a generation and go directly to his grandchildren. The room went silent as everyone processed what that meant. Zuri is the first grandchild, my mama said. Zuri is the first grandchild, I repeated. And Gloria is the trustee. She controls that money until a grandchild can claim it. Keisha slammed her hand on the table. That is it. That is why she took the baby. She wants to control the inheritance. But why would taking Zuri help her do that? I asked. Denise was already connecting the dots. Because if she can prove you are unfit, if she can get custody of Zuri, then she controls when and how Zuri learns about that trust. She can keep managing that money for another 18 years. And something tells me she has been doing more than just managing it. My forensic accountant brain finally kicked in. I had been so exhausted, so traumatized, that I had not been thinking clearly. But now the fog was lifting. She has been embezzling, I said. She has been stealing from the trust. Denise nodded. That is my guess. And you just became a threat to her, a forensic accountant daughter-in-law who might start asking questions about family finances now that there is a grandchild involved. She is not just trying to take my baby, I said. She is trying to protect herself from being exposed. Keisha shook her head in disbelief. This woman spent months setting you up because she has been stealing money. Millions of dollars, Denise said. People have done worse for less. I stood up from the table. My legs were shaking, but not from fear anymore. From rage, from determination. If Gloria has been stealing from that trust, I can prove it. I said. I investigate financial fraud for a living. This is literally what I do. Denise smiled for the first time since she had arrived. Then let us get to work. We are going to get your baby back and send your mother-in-law to prison." My mama reached over and squeezed my hand. "I told you that woman had snake eyes," she said. "Now let us see how she likes being the one who gets bit." The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. During the day, I worked on building the case against Gloria. At night, I lay awake in bed, my arms empty, my breasts aching with milk that had nowhere to go, crying for a baby I could not hold. But I did not let the grief stop me. I could not afford to. Every hour that passed was an hour Zuri was away from me. An hour she was being fed formula instead of her mother's milk. An hour she was bonding with the woman who had stolen her instead of the mother who loved her. I used that pain as fuel. I turned my anguish into action. The first thing I did was call my office. I had been on maternity leave, but I needed resources that only my firm could provide. I called my boss, explained the situation, and asked for emergency access to our financial investigation databases. He did not hesitate. "Whatever you need, Maya," he said. "Take as much time as you need. We will cover your cases." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and began to investigate Gloria Thompson the same way I would investigate any fraudster. I started with the trust documents. Darnell, to his credit, had finally started being useful. The shock of discovering his mother's betrayal had woken him up from his fog of denial. He went to his mother's house, used his emergency key, and retrieved the trust documents his father had left behind. The Donald Ray Thompson Family Trust had been established 12 years ago, 2 years before Donald died. It was a generation-skipping trust designed to pass wealth directly to his grandchildren while minimizing estate taxes. The total value at the time of Donald's death was $3.2 million. Gloria had been named as trustee responsible for managing and investing the money until a grandchild reached the age of 25. I pulled the most recent trust statements and started analyzing the numbers. What I found made me sick. The trust should have been worth more by now, not less. Even with conservative investments, $3.2 million over 5 years should have grown to at least $3.8 million, maybe more. Instead, the current balance was $1.1 million. Over $2 million was missing. I dug deeper. I traced every transaction, every investment, every withdrawal, and I found a pattern that was painfully familiar to me as a fraud investigator. Gloria had been siphoning money out of the trust for years. She had created shell companies with official-sounding names: Thompson Family Investments, LLC, DRT Capital Management, Grandchildren's Future Fund. On paper, these looked like legitimate investment vehicles. In reality, they were empty shells that existed only to funnel money from the trust into Gloria's personal accounts. I traced the money from the shell companies to Gloria's bank accounts. From there, it went to luxury purchases: a new car every 2 years, expensive vacations to Europe and the Caribbean, designer clothes and jewelry, a kitchen renovation at her house, donations to charities where she sat on the board, which came with social prestige and networking opportunities. Gloria Thompson had been living large on stolen money, money that belonged to her grandchildren, money that now belonged to Zuri. But that was not even the worst part. The worst part was that Gloria was running out of room to hide. Based on my analysis, she had been taking about $300,000 a year from the trust. At that rate, she would have depleted it entirely within another 3 to 4 years. She was running a Ponzi scheme against her own grandchildren, using new money to cover old withdrawals and hoping no one would notice until she was dead and gone. Then Zuri was born. Zuri's birth changed everything. Suddenly, there was a grandchild who would eventually be entitled to an accounting. A grandchild with a mother who investigated financial fraud for a living. A mother who might start asking questions about where all that money had gone. Gloria had to act fast. She had to get control of Zuri before I started looking into the family finances. She had to discredit me, paint me as crazy, establish herself as the responsible guardian who could be trusted to manage Zuri's inheritance. It all made sense now. The months of preparation, the documented evidence, the carefully cultivated narrative that I was mentally unstable. Gloria was not just trying to take my baby. She was trying to protect a $2 million fraud. I compiled everything into a report: transaction records, shell company documents, bank statements, a timeline showing exactly how Gloria had stolen money that belonged to her own granddaughter. Then I called Denise. "I found it," I said. "I found everything." The next morning, Denise brought someone new to our war council. His name was Marcus Wells. He was a private investigator, ex-police detective with a specialty in financial crimes. He was tall, serious, and looked like he had seen every kind of human evil there was. Denise handed him my report. He read through it in silence, his face getting harder with every page. "This is solid work," he said when he finished. "You traced everything. Everything I could access. There might be more accounts I do not know about. There probably are. But this is enough. This is more than enough. Enough for what I asked. Enough to destroy her." Marcus explained the next steps. He would take my financial evidence and dig deeper. He had access to databases and sources that I did not. He would find the accounts I had missed, trace the money I could not trace, and build a case that would stand up in both family court and criminal court. While Marcus investigated the money, Denise investigated the doctor. Dr. Harold Patterson, it turned out, was not just a family friend of Gloria's. He was a doctor who had been disciplined twice by the state medical board for ethical violations. The first time was for overprescribing painkillers to patients who did not need them. The second time was for providing medical opinions without proper examination. "He is a pill mill doctor," Denise said. "The kind of doctor who will write whatever you want if you pay him enough. Gloria probably slipped him a few thousand to write that letter about you. Can we prove that I asked? We are working on it. In the meantime, I have already filed a complaint with the medical board. Dr. Patterson is about to have a very bad week." There was one more piece of the puzzle we needed. Evidence that I was a fit mother. Evidence that would counteract Gloria's carefully constructed lies. Dr. Patricia Wells, my OB-GYN, came through for us. She provided my complete medical records from the pregnancy and delivery. There was no mention of mental health concerns. No signs of postpartum depression. No indication that I was anything other than a healthy new mother recovering normally from a C-section. She also provided a personal statement written on hospital letterhead testifying that I had been engaged, attentive, and appropriate with my baby during my entire hospital stay. She specifically noted that Gloria had been intrusive and controlling and that she had concerns about Gloria's behavior even before the kidnapping. "I watched Mrs. Thompson during the hospital stay," Dr. Wells wrote. "She showed signs of a grandmother who was unusually focused on establishing control over the baby. She frequently took the baby from the mother without asking. She undermined the mother's attempts to breastfeed. In my professional opinion, Mrs. Thompson Sr. displayed warning signs of parental alienation behavior." Keisha also came through. She had contacted the nurse from the hospital, Patricia, the one who had warned me about Gloria. Patricia was willing to testify about the questions Gloria had asked. The questions about postpartum psychosis. The questions about reporting concerns to Child Protective Services. The questions that proved Gloria had been planning this for months. Within 72 hours, we had built a counter case that was 10 times stronger than anything Gloria had. We had proof she was a thief. We had proof Dr. Patterson was a fraud. We had proof Gloria had been planning this kidnapping for months. We had medical professionals ready to testify that I was a fit mother and Gloria was a manipulative control freak. And we had something else, something Gloria did not know about. Darnell's brother, Marcus Jr. He was Darnell's older brother by 3 years. He had cut off contact with Gloria a decade ago after she had tried to control his wedding, his wife, and his life. He lived in Chicago now with his wife and 2 kids, and he had been watching Gloria's behavior from a distance for years. When Darnell called him and told him what had happened, Marcus Jr. was not surprised. "Ma has always been like this," he said. "She drove my wife crazy for years before I finally stood up to her. I always knew she would do something like this to someone eventually. I just did not know it would be this bad." He agreed to testify. He would tell the court about Gloria's history of manipulation and control. He would explain why he had cut off contact with his own mother. He would confirm that Gloria had always been obsessed with money and status and control. "Your mother-in-law has no idea what is coming," Denise said as we reviewed our evidence for the 100th time. "She thinks she holds all the cards. She thinks you are sitting at home crying and falling apart." I looked at my team. My mama, who had been my rock since the day I was born. Keisha, who had dropped everything to help me fight, Denise, who was working around the clock on my case, Marcus, the PI, who was uncovering more of Gloria's crimes every day, and Darnell, who had finally picked a side, who had finally stood up to his mother even if it had taken losing his daughter to make him do it. We were ready. Gloria, I thought you picked the wrong mother to mess with. Now it is time for you to find out exactly how wrong. On the fourth day, Darnell finally broke down. I had been ignoring him for most of those 4 days. I spoke to him only when necessary, only about logistics and information. I did not comfort him. I did not reassure him. I did not tell him everything was going to be okay, because I was not sure it was, and because I was not sure I could ever forgive him. He found me in the nursery at 3 in the morning. I was sitting in the rocking chair holding one of Zuri's blankets, trying to smell her scent that was already fading from the fabric. My breasts were bound with cabbage leaves, an old remedy to help stop milk production when a baby is no longer nursing. The pain was terrible, but not as terrible as the emptiness of my arms. Maya, Darnell said from the doorway. His voice was hoarse from crying. I did not look at him. I am so sorry, he said. I am so sorry for everything, for not believing you, for not standing up to my mother, for letting this happen. You let her walk out with our baby, I said. You were supposed to be watching her. I know. I will never forgive myself. I finally looked at him. He looked destroyed. His eyes were red and swollen. He had not shaved in days. He was wearing the same clothes he had been wearing when the police came. For a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for him. He had been manipulated by his mother his entire life. He had been conditioned to obey her, to trust her, to believe that she always knew best. Breaking free of that conditioning was not easy. But then I remembered the text messages, the ones where he agreed with Gloria that I seemed overwhelmed, the ones where he validated her concerns about my mental state. He had not just failed to protect us. He had actively contributed to Gloria's case against me. You texted her, I said. You told her you were worried about me. Darnell's face crumbled. She asked me how you were doing. I thought I was just answering a question from my mother. I did not know she was building a case. You should have known. You should have paid attention. You should have noticed that your mother was photographing me without my consent. You should have noticed that she was undermining me at every turn. I know. I should have seen it. I was blind. You were not blind, Darnell. You just did not want to see, because seeing would have meant standing up to your mother, and you have never been able to do that. He hung his head. You are right. You are absolutely right. But Maya, I am choosing now. I am choosing you. I am choosing our daughter. Are you? Because if Gloria walked through that door right now with some excuse, some explanation, some story about how she was just trying to help, would you believe her? No. Would you stand up to her? Would you tell her she was wrong? Would you fight for us? He looked up at me with tears streaming down his face. Yes, I would. I will. I stood up from the rocking chair. I walked toward him, still holding Zuri's blanket. Your mother stole from your father's trust, I said. She has been stealing for years, over $2 million that should have gone to your children. Darnell's face went blank with shock. What I showed him, the report I had compiled, the shell companies, the bank transfers, the luxury purchases funded with money that belonged to his father's grandchildren. He read through it in silence. When he finished, he sat down hard on the floor like his legs had given out. She stole from us, from Zuri. She has been stealing for years. Yes, and that is why she took the baby. To cover it up. Yes. Darnell put his head in his hands and cried, really cried. The kind of crying that comes from deep inside, from a place of betrayal so profound it breaks something in your soul. I watched him fall apart, and I realized that despite everything, I still loved this man. He was weak, and he was flawed, and he had failed me when I needed him most, but he was also the father of my child. He was also a victim of Gloria's manipulation. He was also someone who was just now realizing that his entire relationship with his mother had been built on lies. Darnell, I said, I need you to do something for me. He looked up. Anything. I need you to call your mother. I need you to tell her that you want to meet with her, that you think Maya has gotten out of control and you need her help figuring out what to do. You want me to lie to her. I want you to do what she did to me. I want you to set a trap." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "What do I say? Tell her you are scared. Tell her I have been acting crazy paranoid, accusing her of things. Tell her you do not know what to do and you need your mother. She will believe that. She has always believed I need her. Then make her believe it one more time. Get her to agree to a meeting. Get her to bring Zuri. And then what? And then we take our daughter back and show her what happens when you mess with this family." Darnell made the call the next morning. I sat across from him listening to every word, coaching him with hand signals when he needed guidance. "Ma," he said, his voice shaking with what sounded like genuine distress. "I do not know what to do. Maya has been acting crazy. She is saying you stole money. She is saying you are a criminal. She is completely out of control." I could not hear Gloria's response, but I could imagine it. The fake concern, the pretend sympathy, the self-righteous satisfaction of hearing that her plan was working. "I think you should come over," Darnell said. "Tomorrow morning. Bring Zuri. Maybe if Maya sees the baby, she will calm down. And I need you here, Ma. I cannot handle this alone." He listened to her response. Then he nodded. "Okay. Tomorrow at 10. I will make sure Maya is here. We can all talk and figure this out." He hung up and looked at me. "She is coming," he said. "She is bringing Zuri." I felt something shift in my chest. Hope. After 4 days of fear and desperation, I finally felt hope. "She thinks she is walking into a negotiation," Denise said from across the room. She had been listening to the whole call. "She is walking into an ambush," I said. Denise smiled. "That is the first time I have seen you smile since this started. I did not even realize I was smiling. But I was, because tomorrow I was getting my baby back, and Gloria Thompson was about to lose everything." The night before Gloria came, I did not sleep. I lay in bed running through every possible scenario. What if she did not bring Zuri? What if she sensed something was wrong and ran? What if she had her own trap planned? More police calls, more accusations, more evidence I did not know about. But mostly, I thought about my daughter. I thought about her little face, her tiny fingers, the way she had looked at me when I first held her in the hospital. I thought about the first time she latched onto my breast, the first time she fell asleep in my arms, the first time I sang to her and she stopped crying. 4 days. She had been gone for 4 days. In the life of a newborn, 4 days was an eternity. 4 days of bonding she should have had with me, her mother. 4 days of feeding and holding and rocking that had been stolen from us. I was not just angry anymore. I was devastated. There was a hole in my chest where my baby should be, and nothing could fill it except getting her back. "Tomorrow," I whispered to myself in the dark. "Tomorrow I will hold her again." In the morning, I got dressed with care. Not in my normal clothes, not in the exhausted new mother sweats that Gloria had photographed. I put on a professional outfit. I did my hair. I put on makeup for the first time in weeks. I wanted Gloria to see me looking strong and capable. I wanted her to realize the moment she walked through my door that she had underestimated me. My team was already in place. Denise was in the dining room just out of sight from the front door. She had a folder full of legal documents ready to serve. Marcus, the PI, was parked down the street, watching for Gloria's car ready to call us the moment she arrived. 2 police officers were waiting around the corner ready to respond if needed. Denise had briefed them on the situation and they had agreed to be on standby. My mama was in the kitchen making coffee, keeping busy because she could not stand to sit still. And Darnell was sitting on the couch, his leg bouncing with nervous energy, rehearsing what he was going to say. I stood by the window watching the street, waiting for the woman who had tried to destroy my life. At 10:15, my phone buzzed, a text from Marcus, the PI. "Black Lexus just turned onto your street, 2 passengers. I see the baby carrier in the back seat." My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "She is here," I announced to the room. "She has Zuri." My mama came out of the kitchen, her jaw set, her eyes hard. "That woman better pray to Jesus," she muttered. Denise stood up and moved to her position. "Remember," she said to all of us, "stay calm. Let her incriminate herself. Do not interrupt. Do not attack. Let me do my job." I nodded, but I was not sure I could keep that promise. Every cell in my body wanted to run outside, grab my baby, and never let go. The doorbell rang. Darnell walked to the door. His hands were shaking. He took a deep breath, plastered a desperate expression on his face, and opened it. "Ma," he said, "thank God you are here." Gloria walked in like she owned the place. She was wearing a cream-colored pantsuit, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked like a woman who had everything under control. Behind her, Tanya followed carrying Zuri in her car seat. The moment I saw my daughter, I nearly fell apart. She was so small, so perfect. She was awake, her big eyes looking around the room, probably wondering where she was and why everything kept changing. It took every ounce of self-control I had not to run to her and snatch her out of that car seat. Instead, I stayed where I was standing by the window. I kept my face neutral. I waited. Gloria looked at me with an expression of practiced concern. "Maya, honey," she said. "How are you feeling?" Darnell answered before I could. "She has been terrible, Ma. She keeps saying you stole money. She keeps saying you are a criminal. She will not listen to reason." Gloria nodded sadly. I was afraid of this. The stress of new motherhood can trigger all kinds of mental health issues. She sat down on my couch like she belonged there. She gestured for Tanya to put the car seat on the floor next to her. She smoothed her pantsuit and folded her hands in her lap. "Maya," she said, looking at me with fake sympathy, "I know this is hard, but you have to understand everything I have done has been for Zuri's safety. You were showing signs of instability. You were not coping. I had to step in." I stayed silent. I let her talk. "Now I think we can work this out," Gloria continued. "If you agree to get professional help to see a psychiatrist I recommend, maybe we can discuss some kind of shared custody arrangement. I am not trying to take your daughter from you forever. I just want to make sure she is safe." Behind her, I saw Denise nod slightly. Gloria was incriminating herself. "Keep going," the nod said. "What kind of arrangement did you have in mind?" I asked. My voice was steady. "Well, I was thinking Zuri could stay with me during the week. I have more time, more resources. And you could have her on weekends, once you are more stable. And who would make decisions about her care, her education, her future? I would, of course, as the responsible adult in the situation. And what about her inheritance? Zuri is the first grandchild. She is entitled to her grandfather's trust." For the first time, something flickered in Gloria's eyes. A flash of something that was not fake concern or practiced sympathy. A flash of fear. "The trust is being managed appropriately," she said. "There is nothing for you to worry about, is there not?" "I do not know what you are implying, Maya." "I think you know exactly what I am implying." Gloria's mask started to slip. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes got harder. "You are paranoid," she said. "This is exactly what I have been talking about. You are seeing conspiracies where there are none." "Am I?" I nodded to Denise. She stepped out from the dining room, her folder of documents in hand. Gloria's face changed the moment she saw her. "Who is this?" Gloria demanded. "I am Maya's attorney," Denise said, "and I have some documents I would like to show you." Denise walked to the coffee table and spread out the papers. The shell company records, the bank transfers, the trust statements showing $2 million missing. Gloria's face went white. "This is what paranoia looks like," I said. "This is what instability looks like. This is the evidence that you have been stealing from your own grandchildren for years." Gloria stood up so fast she knocked over her coffee. "That is ridiculous. Those documents are fabricated. They were pulled from public records and financial databases," Denise said calmly. "Every transaction is documented. Every shell company is registered in your name. Every dollar is traced." Tanya Gloria snapped. "Get the baby! We are leaving!" Tanya reached for the car seat, but I was faster. I crossed the room in 3 steps and picked up my daughter. The moment I held Zuri against my chest, the moment I felt her warm little body in my arms, I started crying. I could not help it. 4 days of grief and fear came pouring out in tears that soaked my daughter's blanket. "Mama is here," I whispered to her. "Mama has you." "Give me that baby," Gloria shouted. "You are not fit to be a mother." Actually, Denise said I have a court order right here that says otherwise. She pulled out the emergency custody order. The judge had signed it that morning based on our evidence that Gloria had taken Zuri without consent and had been planning the kidnapping for months. Gloria Thompson. Denise continued. You are hereby served with an emergency custody order granting full custody of Zuri Thompson to her mother Maya Thompson. You are also served with a restraining order requiring you to stay 500 feet from Maya Zuri and this residence. Gloria snatched the papers from Denise's hand and read them with wild eyes. This is not legal. This is not binding. I will fight this in court. You can try, Denise said. But I should warn you, I have also provided this evidence to the FBI Financial Crimes Division. Embezzlement from a family trust is a federal offense. Gloria's face went from white to gray. She looked at me, at Darnell, at her daughter Tanya, searching for an ally, for someone who would take her side. Darnell stepped forward. He looked his mother in the eyes. You stole from Dad's trust, he said. You stole from my daughter. You tried to take Maya's baby to cover it up. You are not my mother anymore. You are a criminal. Darnell, Gloria said. Her voice was desperate now. Baby, you do not understand. I was protecting the family. I was managing the money because your father trusted me. I did not steal anything. $2 million, Ma. $2 million that should have gone to your grandchildren. Where is it? Gloria had no answer. The police arrived 3 minutes later. Denise had called them the moment Gloria started incriminating herself. They walked into my living room, assessed the situation, and placed Gloria Thompson under arrest. The charges were embezzlement, custodial interference, and conspiracy. Tanya was arrested too for her role in the kidnapping. As the officers handcuffed Gloria and led her toward the door, she looked back at me. Her eyes were full of hatred, pure, undiluted hatred. This is not over, she said. I will fight you with everything I have. I held my daughter tighter. I looked at the woman who had tried to destroy my family. Fight all you want, Gloria. I am a forensic accountant. I am a mother, and I have receipts. They put her in the back of the police car and drove away. I stood in my living room holding my baby, surrounded by the people who had helped me get her back. My mama was crying. Keisha was cheering. Denise was already making calls to finalize the legal paperwork. Darnell was staring at the door where his mother had just been taken away, looking like a man who had just woken up from a nightmare. And Zuri was in my arms. Finally, she was back where she belonged. It is over, I whispered to her. It is all over now. But I was wrong. It was not over. The trial was still coming. The custody battle was still coming. The fallout from Gloria's arrest was still coming. But in that moment, with my daughter safe in my arms, I did not care about any of that. I had won. I had gotten my baby back, and Gloria Thompson was going to pay for every single thing she had done to us. 6 weeks after Gloria Thompson was arrested in my living room, I walked into family court to finalize custody of my daughter. I had spent those 6 weeks healing my body from the C-section that still ached when I moved too fast, healing my mind from the trauma of having my baby stolen, healing my relationship with Darnell slowly, carefully, one honest conversation at a time. But mostly, I had spent those 6 weeks bonding with Zuri. I fed her every 2 hours, watching her grow stronger and bigger every day. I sang to her at night the same songs my mama had sung to me when I was a baby. I memorized every expression on her face, every sound she made, every tiny movement of her fingers and toes. I was not going to miss another moment of her life. Not ever again. The courthouse was cold and intimidating. High ceilings, marble floors, the smell of old paper and desperation. I had been in courtrooms before as an expert witness in fraud cases, but this was different. This was not about money or corporate crime. This was about my daughter. Denise walked beside me, her heels clicking on the marble, her briefcase full of evidence. Behind us came my mama Keisha and Darnell. We moved through the courthouse like an army united and determined. Gloria was already there when we arrived. She was sitting at the defendant's table with a lawyer I did not recognize, an expensive-looking man in a 3-piece suit. She had clearly spent some of her stolen money on legal representation. She looked different than the last time I had seen her. Smaller, somehow, older. The weeks in jail awaiting trial had stripped away her polish and her confidence. Her hair was not perfectly styled anymore. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her eyes, when they met mine, were full of hatred and fear. Good, I thought. She should be afraid. The judge entered and we all rose. Her name was Judge Patricia Coleman, a black woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I had researched her before the hearing. She was known for being fair but tough, with no tolerance for manipulation or lies. She was exactly the judge I wanted. "We are here today for the matter of Thompson versus Thompson," Judge Coleman announced. "Emergency custody hearing and related criminal charges. I have reviewed all submitted documents. Let us proceed." Gloria's lawyer went first. He painted a picture of a concerned grandmother who had only wanted to protect her granddaughter from an unstable mother. He talked about Gloria's years of service to the community, her devotion to family, her unblemished record. He did not mention the embezzlement. He did not mention the shell companies. He did not mention the $2 million Gloria had stolen from her own grandchildren. But Denise did. When it was our turn, Denise stood up and systematically destroyed every argument Gloria's lawyer had made. She presented the financial evidence first. The trust documents showing $3.2 million that should have been there. The current balance of $1.1 million, the shell companies registered in Gloria's name. The bank transfers to her personal accounts. The luxury purchases the vacations, the lifestyle funded by stolen money. "Your Honor," Denise said, "this is not a grandmother concerned about her grandchild. This is a criminal who stole over $2 million from a family trust and then kidnapped a newborn infant to prevent her daughter-in-law, a forensic accountant, from discovering the fraud." Gloria's lawyer objected. He called the evidence circumstantial. He claimed the shell companies were legitimate investments. He said the money had been properly managed according to the terms of the trust. Judge Coleman looked at him with barely concealed contempt. "Counselor," she said, "I have reviewed these documents. The money trail is clear. Your client funneled trust assets into companies she controlled and then spent that money on personal expenses. That is not management. That is theft." She turned to Gloria. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, "do you have any explanation for where this money went?" Gloria's lawyer tried to answer for her, but Judge Coleman held up her hand. "I asked your client, not you." "Mrs. Thompson." Gloria sat frozen for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice thin and desperate. "I was protecting the family assets. My husband trusted me to manage his estate. Everything I did was for the good of the family. $2 million in personal expenses is for the good of the family." Gloria had no answer. Denise presented the next piece of evidence. The letter from Dr. Harold Patterson, the doctor who had never examined me but had written a diagnosis of postpartum psychosis. This letter was used to justify taking a 3-day-old infant from her mother, Denise said. But Dr. Patterson never examined Maya Thompson. He never even met her. He wrote this letter based on information provided by Gloria Thompson, who paid him for the service. She handed the judge a document. "This is a complaint filed with the State Medical Board. Dr. Patterson has been suspended pending investigation. He has a history of ethical violations, including writing medical opinions without proper examination." Judge Coleman read the document, her expression growing darker with every line. Denise continued. "She presented testimony from my OB/GYN, Dr. Patricia Wells, describing me as a healthy, engaged, appropriate mother. She presented testimony from the hospital nurse who had witnessed Gloria's controlling behavior and had heard her asking questions about how to report a mother to Child Protective Services. She presented the text messages between Gloria and Darnell, showing how Gloria had manipulated her own son into doubting his wife. She presented the phone records showing that Gloria had called the police for a welfare check on the same night she kidnapped Zuri, setting up the narrative that I was dangerous before she even took my baby. And then she called Darnell to testify. I watched my husband walk to the witness stand. He looked nervous pale, like a man who was about to betray everything he had been raised to believe. But he also looked determined. He looked like a man who had finally chosen a side. Denise asked him about his mother's behavior during my pregnancy. He described the controlling comments, the constant criticism, the way Gloria had inserted herself into every decision. She asked him about the night Zuri was taken. He admitted that he had been asleep, that Gloria had told him she was taking the baby for a drive, that he had not questioned it because he had been conditioned his entire life to trust his mother. She asked him about the text messages. He admitted that he had agreed with Gloria's concerns about me, that he had been manipulated into doubting his own wife, that he was ashamed of his weakness. And then she asked him about the money. "Did you know your mother was stealing from your father's trust?" "No," Darnell said. "I had no idea until Maya showed me the evidence." "And when you saw the evidence, what did you believe I believed my wife?" "I believed the documents. My mother stole from us. She stole from my daughter. And then she tried to take my daughter to cover it up." Gloria made a sound from the defendant's table. A sob, or maybe a gasp of betrayal. Her own son testifying against her in open court. But Darnell was not finished. "I spent my whole life believing my mother knew best," he said. "I let her control me, manipulate me, turn me against my own wife. I was weak. I was blind. But I am not blind anymore. My mother is not the woman I thought she was. She is a thief and a liar, and she tried to destroy my family to protect herself." He looked at Gloria. For a moment, mother and son stared at each other across the courtroom. "I will never forgive you for what you did," Darnell said, "and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to Maya and Zuri." Gloria broke down crying, real tears finally instead of the fake ones she had used to manipulate everyone around her. But it was too late for tears. It was too late for sympathy. It was too late for anything except justice. Judge Coleman called a recess. When we returned, she was ready to deliver her ruling. "I have heard all the evidence and testimony in this case," she said, "and I have reached a decision." She looked at Gloria. "Mrs. Gloria Thompson, you systematically planned and executed the kidnapping of your 3-day-old granddaughter. You manufactured evidence to paint your daughter-in-law as mentally unstable. You enlisted a doctor to write a fraudulent medical opinion. You manipulated your own son into doubting his wife. You stole over $2 million from a family trust that was meant to benefit your grandchildren." Judge Coleman's voice was ice cold. "This court finds that you are a danger to the minor child Zuri Thompson. You have demonstrated a pattern of manipulation, deception, and criminal behavior that makes you unfit to have any role in this child's life." She picked up her gavel. "Full custody of Zuri Thompson is hereby awarded to her mother, Maya Thompson. The father, Darnell Thompson, is granted joint custody with the mother's consent. Gloria Thompson is prohibited from any contact with the minor child. A permanent restraining order is issued requiring Gloria Thompson to remain 500 feet from Maya Thompson, Zuri Thompson, and the Thompson family residence." The gavel came down. Gloria's lawyer immediately stood to object, to ask for an appeal, to do something. But Judge Coleman was not finished. Regarding the criminal charges, she continued, "Based on the evidence presented, this court is referring the case to the district attorney for prosecution on charges of custodial interference conspiracy and filing false reports. The financial crimes will be handled by federal authorities who have already opened an investigation." She looked at Gloria one final time. "Mrs. Thompson, you came into this courtroom thinking you could manipulate your way out of consequences. You thought your money, your connections, your carefully constructed lies would protect you. You were wrong." She stood up. "Court is adjourned." I sat in my chair, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to believe it was finally over. Denise put her hand on my shoulder. "We won, Maya. We won everything." I looked across the courtroom at Gloria. She was being led away by court officers, her hands cuffed in front of her, her expensive lawyer trailing behind with useless papers. She turned and looked at me one last time. Her eyes were red from crying, her face twisted with hatred and despair. "This is not over," she mouthed at me. I did not look away. I did not flinch. I just shook my head slowly. "Yes, it is," I mouthed back. "It is over." And it was. The criminal trial came 3 months later. Gloria Thompson stood before a federal judge facing 12 counts of embezzlement, wire fraud, and money laundering. The evidence I had gathered, combined with the FBI's investigation, had uncovered even more than I had originally found. Gloria had been stealing from the trust for over 7 years, starting before her husband Donald had even died. She had forged his signature on documents. She had created fake investment accounts. She had been bleeding the family fortune dry while everyone around her thought she was a devoted wife and then a grieving widow managing her husband's legacy. The federal prosecutor laid out the case in devastating detail. Every shell company, every wire transfer, every luxury purchase. The jury saw photos of Gloria's vacations to Paris and Rome and the Caribbean. They saw receipts for designer handbags and jewelry and spa treatments. They saw the lifestyle she had funded with money that belonged to her grandchildren. Gloria's defense was desperation dressed up as innocence. Her lawyer claimed she had been confused about the trust terms. He claimed the shell companies were legitimate investments that had simply failed. He claimed she had always intended to pay the money back. No one believed him. Not the jury, not the judge, not even Gloria herself, who sat at the defense table looking like a woman who knew her life was over. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the federal judge showed no mercy. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, "you stole from your own family. You stole from your grandchildren's future. You manipulated everyone around you, including your own sons, to cover up your crimes. And when you were finally at risk of being exposed, you kidnapped a newborn infant and tried to have her mother declared insane." He shook his head slowly. "In my 30 years on the bench, I have seen many cases of greed and betrayal, but I have rarely seen anything as calculated and cruel as what you have done." Gloria tried to speak to offer some explanation or apology, but the judge held up his hand. "Gloria Thompson, I hereby sentence you to 12 years in federal prison for embezzlement and related charges. You will also pay full restitution to the Thompson Family Trust in the amount of $2.1 million plus interest and penalties." 12 years. Gloria would be 74 years old when she got out, if she got out at all. The money she had stolen would be recovered from her assets, her hidden accounts, everything she had accumulated through fraud. She would lose her house, her cars, her jewelry. She would lose her freedom. She would lose any chance of a relationship with her grandchildren. She had lost everything, just like she had tried to make me lose everything. I was in the courtroom when the sentence was read. I did not feel joy. I did not feel triumph. I just felt tired and relieved that it was finally truly over. Tanya, Gloria's daughter, had pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for testifying against her mother. She received 3 years probation and 500 hours of community service. She was also banned from contacting me or Zuri. I saw her outside the courthouse after the sentencing. She looked lost, like a woman whose entire world had collapsed. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered how she had carried my baby out of my house in the middle of the night, how she had helped her mother set me up, how she had been willing to let me be declared insane so her mother could keep stealing money. I walked past her without a word. Dr. Harold Patterson, the doctor who had written the fake diagnosis, lost his medical license permanently. The state medical board found him guilty of multiple ethical violations, including accepting payment for fraudulent medical opinions. He faced his own criminal charges for conspiracy and filing false reports. The nurse from the hospital, Patricia, the one who had tried to warn me, was recognized for her integrity. She received a commendation from the hospital board for speaking up when she saw something wrong. Detective Morrison, the tired cop who had told me to find the motive, reached out to me after the trial. He said it was the most satisfying case he had worked in years. He said he was glad I had not given up, that I had fought back, that I had proven everyone wrong who had doubted me. "We are not supposed to take sides," he told me. "But between you and me, Mrs. Thompson, I was rooting for you the whole time. The Thompson Family Trust was restructured. All of Gloria's stolen money was recovered and returned to the trust along with interest and penalties. Darnell and I were named as co-trustees responsible for managing Zuri's inheritance until she came of age. $2.4 million. That was what my daughter was entitled to. Money that Gloria had tried to steal, that Gloria had been willing to destroy my family to keep. I set up a separate account for Zuri's education, her future, her dreams. Whatever she wanted to do with her life, she would have the resources to do it. That was the one good thing that came from all of this. My daughter's future was secure, and Gloria Thompson would spend the next 12 years in prison thinking about what she had lost. Some people asked me if I felt guilty, if I felt bad about sending my mother-in-law to prison, about breaking up Darnell's family, about the destruction I had caused. I told them the truth. I did not destroy anything. Gloria destroyed herself. She made choices year after year to steal, to lie, to manipulate. She chose to take my baby. She chose to try to have me declared insane. She chose her own downfall. All I did was refuse to be a victim. All I did was fight back, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. The first few months after the trial were about healing. I went back to work part-time, easing into my old life while still spending most of my time with Zuri. My colleagues welcomed me back like a hero. They had followed the case in the news, watched the trial coverage, seen the headlines about the grandmother who had kidnapped her own granddaughter. "You are famous," my coworker Janelle told me with a laugh. "The forensic accountant who took down her mother-in-law. They should make a movie about you." I did not want to be famous. I just wanted to be a mother. But I appreciated the support, the understanding, the flexibility my firm gave me as I rebuilt my life. Darnell and I went to couples counseling. We had to. The foundation of our marriage had been cracked by everything that happened, and we needed help repairing it. It was not easy. There were sessions where I screamed at him, where I told him all the ways he had failed me, where I let out the anger I had been holding inside. There were sessions where he cried, where he talked about his childhood, where he explained how Gloria had conditioned him to obey her from the time he was a baby. The therapist helped us understand each other. She helped Darnell see how his mother had manipulated him, and she helped me see that Darnell was also a victim, even though his weakness had almost cost me everything. Forgiveness came slowly. It came in small moments. A conversation where he actually listened instead of defending his mother. A night where he got up with Zuri so I could sleep. A day where he stood up for me to someone who questioned my choices. I do not know if I will ever fully trust Darnell the way I did before. Something broke between us that can never be completely fixed. But I know he loves me. I know he loves Zuri. And I know he is trying every single day to be the husband and father he should have been all along. We renewed our vows on our 8th wedding anniversary. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. My mama was there crying happy tears. Keisha was my matron of honor again. Zuri, now 8 months old, sat in her grandmother's lap and watched her parents promise to love each other forever. This time when I said my vows, I meant them. And when Darnell said his, I believed him. My mama moved closer to us after everything happened. She sold her house across town and bought a smaller place just 10 minutes away. She wanted to be near her granddaughter, near me, near the family she had almost lost. She came over almost every day. She cooked meals, helped with Zuri, sat with me on the porch, drinking sweet tea and talking about life. "I told you that woman had snake eyes," she said one afternoon, watching Zuri play on a blanket in the grass. "You did, Mama. I should have listened." She shook her head. "You had to learn for yourself. Some lessons cannot be taught. They have to be lived." She looked at me with pride in her eyes. "But you came through it, baby. You came through stronger than before. That is all a mother can ask for." Keisha remained my rock, my best friend, my sister, in everything but blood. She had been there for me during the worst time of my life, and I would never forget that. We started a tradition after everything settled down. Once a month, we had a girls' night. Me, Keisha, Denise, and a few other women we had met along the way. We would gather at someone's house, drink wine, eat too much food, and talk about our lives. Sometimes we talked about serious things. Relationships, careers, struggles. Sometimes we just laughed and gossiped and enjoyed being together. But always, at some point during the night, someone would raise a glass to me. To Maya, they would say, "The woman who fought back." I always felt uncomfortable with the praise. I had not done anything special. I had just refused to give up. I had used my skills, my training, my support system to fight for what was mine. But Keisha told me I was wrong. "You do not understand what you did," she said one night. "You showed every woman who has ever been gaslit, ever been manipulated, ever been told she was crazy when she knew something was wrong, that she can fight back, that she can win, that the people who try to destroy her do not get the last word." She squeezed my hand. "Your story matters, Maya. Do not ever forget that." Darnell's brother, Marcus Jr., came back into our lives. He had cut off contact with Gloria years ago, and now that she was in prison, he felt free to reconnect with his brother. He and his wife brought their kids to visit. Zuri met her cousins for the first time. Darnell and Marcus spent hours talking, rebuilding a relationship that Gloria had destroyed with her manipulation and control. I watched them together and felt something like hope. Gloria had poisoned her family, but she had not killed it. The bonds between brothers, between cousins, between generations, those bonds could survive even the worst betrayal. The Thompson family was rebuilding, not the way Gloria had wanted, not under her control, but building something new, something healthier, something better. And at the center of it all was Zuri, my daughter. The miracle baby I had waited 5 years for, the child Gloria had tried to steal, the reason I had fought harder than I had ever fought for anything in my life. She was growing so fast, crawling at 7 months, walking at 11 months, saying her first words just after her first birthday. Every milestone was a celebration, a reminder of how close I had come to missing all of it. I documented everything. Photos, videos, journals full of memories. I wanted Zuri to know when she was old enough to understand how much she was loved, how much she was wanted, how hard her mother had fought to keep her. I also wanted her to know the truth about what happened, not to poison her against her grandmother, but to teach her a lesson about strength and resilience and the importance of fighting for what matters. Some people think I should hide the story from her. They think it is too dark, too traumatic for a child to know. But I believe in honesty. I believe in truth, and I believe that my daughter deserves to know that her mother is not someone who backs down from a fight. One day, when she is old enough, I will sit her down and tell her everything. I will tell her about Gloria and the kidnapping and the trial. I will tell her about the inheritance that almost cost her her mother. I will tell her about the forensic accountant who used her skills to take down a criminal. And I will tell her the most important lesson I learned from all of it. Never let anyone make you feel small. Never let anyone tell you that you are crazy for knowing what you know. Never let anyone take what belongs to you without a fight. You are a Thompson woman, I will tell her. And Thompson women do not break. We bend, we struggle, we cry, but we do not break. And we always, always win. 1 year after Gloria Thompson took my baby, I stood in my backyard and watched my daughter take her first steps. It was a Sunday afternoon in March. The sun was warm, the sky was blue, and my whole family was gathered for Zuri's first birthday party. My mama was there, sitting in a lawn chair with a plate of food, watching her granddaughter with tears of joy in her eyes. Keisha was there with her 2 kids, chasing Zuri around the yard, making her squeal with laughter. Denise was there, the lawyer who had helped me win my case, now a close friend who would not miss this moment for anything. Darnell was standing next to me, his arm around my waist, watching our daughter with a smile that had taken a long time to return to his face. And Marcus Jr. was there with his wife and kids. Zuri's cousins were teaching her how to blow out the candle on her birthday cake. 3 generations of Thompsons together, healthy whole. Gloria was not there, of course. She was in federal prison serving the first year of her 12-year sentence. I had heard through the grapevine that she had tried to appeal, that she had written letters to Darnell begging for forgiveness, that she spent her days in her cell wondering how everything had gone so wrong. I did not care. I did not think about her anymore. She had taken up enough space in my life. She did not deserve any more of my energy. Zuri stood up on her own for the first time that afternoon. She had been pulling herself up on furniture for weeks, but she had never let go and taken a step by herself. I held my breath. Everyone went quiet. Zuri looked at me with those big brown eyes, wobbled for a moment, and then took 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. And then she fell into my arms, giggling proud of herself. I scooped her up and held her tight, tears streaming down my face. "You did it, baby girl," I whispered. "You did it." Everyone cheered. Darnell was crying too. My mama was on her feet, clapping and praising Jesus. It was a perfect moment, one of those moments you remember for the rest of your life. And I almost missed it. I almost missed all of it because a woman decided her money was more important than my family. But I did not miss it. I was there. I was holding my daughter. I was surrounded by people who loved me. Gloria had tried to take this from me. She had failed. Later that night, after all the guests had gone home and Zuri was asleep in her crib, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea and watched the stars. I thought about everything that had happened in the past year. The terror of waking up to an empty crib, the desperation of trying to find my baby, the rage that had fueled me to investigate, to build a case, to take down the woman who had tried to destroy me. I thought about the lessons I had learned, about trusting my instincts, about the power of documentation, about the importance of having a support system, people who will fight beside you when you cannot fight alone. I thought about what I would tell other women who were going through something similar. Women who were being gaslit by their families, manipulated by their in-laws, made to feel crazy when they knew something was wrong. And this is what I would tell them. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are not hormonal. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Trust the voice inside you that knows the truth even when everyone around you is trying to convince you otherwise. Document everything. Keep records. Save texts and emails and photos. Build your case before you need it, because by the time you need it, it might be too late. Find your people, the friends who will drop everything to help you, the family members who will believe you when no one else does, the professionals who will fight for you. You cannot do this alone. You should not have to. And when you are ready to fight, fight with everything you have. Use your skills, your knowledge, your strength. Do not let them see you break. Do not give them the satisfaction of watching you fall apart. You are stronger than you know. You are smarter than they think. You are more powerful than they can imagine, and you deserve to win. I thought about Gloria in her prison cell, thinking about everything she had lost. Her freedom, her money, her family, her grandchildren. She had gambled everything on the belief that I would crumble, that I would fall apart, that I would be too weak, too tired, too broken to fight back. She had bet against a black woman who had spent her whole life being underestimated. She had lost. My name is Maya Thompson. I am 35 years old. I am a forensic accountant, a wife, a mother, a daughter, a friend. 1 year ago, my mother-in-law stole my 3-day-old baby from her crib in the middle of the night. She tried to have me declared insane. She tried to take my child and my freedom and my sanity. She failed. I got my baby back. I sent my mother-in-law to prison. I saved my marriage. I rebuilt my life. And I would do it all again in a heartbeat. If you are watching this and you are in a situation where someone is trying to take what is yours, trying to make you feel small, trying to convince you that you are crazy when you know you are not, I want you to hear this. You can fight back. You can win. The people who are trying to destroy you do not get to write the end of your story. You do. So, write a good ending. Write an ending where you stand up for yourself, where you trust your instincts, where you use every tool at your disposal to protect yourself and the people you love. Write an ending where you win, because you deserve to win. You have always deserved to win. And no one, no mother-in-law, no husband, no system, no one gets to take that away from you. Not unless you let them. Do not let them. I finished my tea and went inside. I checked on Zuri one more time, watching her sleep, listening to her breathe. She would grow up knowing she was loved. She would grow up knowing her mother fought for her. She would grow up knowing that she came from a line of strong women who did not back down, did not give up, did not accept defeat. "Good night, baby girl," I whispered. "Mama loves you. Mama will always protect you." I closed her door softly and went to bed. Tomorrow would be another day of being a mother, a wife, a professional. Another day of living the life Gloria Thompson had tried to steal from me. Another day of winning, because that is what I do now. I win. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, if it moved you, if it made you think about your own life and the fights you are facing, I am glad. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Please like this video. Please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And please, please comment below. Tell me where you are watching from. Tell me if you have been through something similar. Tell me your story, because your story matters too. We are all fighting our own battles. We are all dealing with people who want to take what is ours. We are all trying to survive in a world that sometimes seems designed to break us. But we do not have to fight alone. We have each other. We have our stories. We have the knowledge that someone out there understands what we are going through. So let us build a community. Let us support each other. Let us remind each other that we are strong, that we are capable, that we deserve to win. Because we do. All of us. We deserve to win. This is Maya Thompson signing off. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And never, ever stop fighting for what is yours. But the most powerful testimony came from someone Gloria never expected to see. Marcus Jr. walked into that courtroom like a man who had been waiting years for this moment. He was Darnell's older brother, the one who had cut Gloria out of his life a decade ago, the one who had seen through her manipulation long before anyone else. He took the witness stand with his shoulders straight and his eyes clear. He did not look at his mother. He looked at the judge. Denise approached him slowly. Mr. Thompson, can you tell the court about your relationship with your mother? Marcus. Jr. took a deep breath. I have not spoken to my mother in 10 years, he said. I cut off contact after she tried to destroy my marriage the same way she tried to destroy Maya's. The courtroom went silent. Gloria's face turned white. Can you explain what you mean by that? Denise asked. When I got engaged to my wife Denise, my mother was furious. She did not think Denise was good enough for me. Too independent, too opinionated, too unwilling to be controlled. He paused, gathering himself. My mother started a campaign against my wife. She would call me with concerns. She would send me articles about warning signs in relationships. She would plant seeds of doubt in my mind, make me question everything my wife said and did. How did this affect your marriage? We almost divorced. Marcus Jr.'s voice cracked slightly. My mother convinced me that my wife was cheating, that she was lying, that she was trying to trap me. None of it was true. But I believed my mother because I had been trained my whole life to believe her. What changed? My wife found the texts, the messages between me and my mother where we discussed her like she was a problem to be solved. My wife showed me what my mother was doing, how she was manipulating me, how she was trying to break us apart. He finally looked at Gloria. His eyes were hard. I had to choose between my mother and my wife. I chose my wife. It was the best decision I ever made. Gloria made a sound from the defendant's table. A sob or maybe a moan of pain. Mr. Thompson, Denise continued, based on your experience with your mother, were you surprised when you heard what happened to Maya? No, Marcus Jr. said firmly. I was not surprised at all. This is exactly what my mother does. She identifies a threat and she destroys it. Maya was a threat because she is smart, because she is a forensic accountant, because she might discover what my mother has been doing with the family money. He turned to face the judge directly. Your Honor, my mother is not a concerned grandmother. She is a predator. She has spent her entire life manipulating and controlling the people around her. She drove away her own son because I refused to let her destroy my marriage. And when she could not control Maya, she tried to have her committed and steal her child. Gloria's lawyer tried to object, tried to discredit Marcus Jr.'s testimony, but the damage was done. The jury was looking at Gloria with new eyes, not as a concerned grandmother, but as a pattern abuser who had been doing this for decades. And then Gloria broke. She stood up from the defendant's table, ignoring her lawyer's attempts to pull her back down. You ungrateful children, she screamed. I sacrificed everything for this family. Everything. I gave you the best of everything. I managed your father's money so you would have a future. And this is how you repay me. Mrs. Thompson, sit down, the judge ordered. But Gloria was beyond control now. Years of pretending, of manipulating, of wearing a mask had finally cracked. Maya is not fit to be a mother. She turned to point at me. She is weak. She is pathetic. She could not even give my son a baby without medical help. 5 years of trying, and she could not do the one thing women are supposed to do naturally. I felt Darnell tense beside me. I put my hand on his arm to keep him seated. And Darnell. Gloria whirled on her son. You are just like your father, weak, stupid, letting a woman control you. I raised you better than this. The judge banged her gavel repeatedly. Order. Order in this court. Mrs. Thompson, if you do not sit down immediately, I will have you removed. Gloria's lawyer finally managed to pull her back into her seat, but it was too late. The jury had seen the real Gloria Thompson. The controlling, manipulative, hateful woman who had been hiding behind a mask of grandmotherly concern. In her moment of rage, Gloria had done more damage to her own case than all of our evidence combined. The judge called a recess. As the courtroom emptied, I saw the jury members whispering to each other, shaking their heads, looking at Gloria with disgust. Denise leaned over to me and whispered, "She just handed us the case on a silver platter." I watched Gloria being led away by court officers for a break. She was still muttering to herself, still ranting about ungrateful children and disloyal sons. And I felt something I had not expected to feel. Pity. Not forgiveness, not sympathy. Just pity for a woman who had spent her entire life trying to control everyone around her and who was now watching that control slip away forever. She had everything once: a husband who loved her, sons who respected her, a comfortable life funded by a substantial inheritance, and she had destroyed it all. Not me, not Darnell, not Marcus Jr. Gloria Thompson had destroyed herself. When the trial resumed, the outcome was already decided. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Gloria stood motionless as the verdict was read. She did not cry. She did not react. She just stood there, staring at nothing, like a woman who had finally realized that her entire life had been a lie. As they led her away in handcuffs, she passed by our table. She stopped for a moment and looked at me. I expected hatred. I expected rage. I expected threats. Instead, she just looked tired. Old. Defeated. "You won," she said quietly. "Are you happy now?" I looked at the woman who had tried to steal my daughter, who had tried to have me declared insane, who had stolen millions from her own grandchildren. "This was never about winning," I said. "This was about protecting my family." Gloria shook her head slowly. "You do not understand," she said. "You will never understand. Everything I did was for the family. No, Gloria. Everything you did was for yourself. That is what you will never understand." They led her away. I watched her go, watched the courtroom doors close behind her, watched the last chapter of this nightmare finally end. And then I stood up, walked over to my mama and my friends, and let them hold me while I cried. It was over. It was finally over. The night after the verdict, my sister circle threw me a party. Not a fancy party, not a catered event with decorations and a DJ. Just my closest friends gathered in Keisha's living room with takeout food bottles of wine, and the kind of love that only women who have been through hell together can share. Keisha had set up a banner that said, "Justice served" in gold letters. My mama had brought her famous pound cake. Denise had brought champagne, the expensive kind she saved for special occasions. And I had brought Zuri strapped to my chest in her carrier, sleeping peacefully against my heartbeat. To Maya, Keisha said, raising her glass, "The baddest forensic accountant in the whole damn city, the woman who took down her monster-in-law and looked good doing it." Everyone laughed and raised their glasses. To Maya, they echoed. I felt tears prick my eyes. Not sad tears, happy tears, grateful tears. 3 months ago, I was sitting on my kitchen floor thinking my life was over, I said. I had just discovered that my baby was gone, that my mother-in-law had been planning this for months, that my own husband had been manipulated into doubting me. I looked around at the faces of the women who had saved me. I could not have done this without you. Any of you. Mama, you dropped everything and came to my side. Keisha, you took off work and helped me hold it together. Denise, you took my case when I could not afford to pay you. Every single one of you showed up for me when I needed you most. My mama stood up and walked over to me. She put her hands on my face the same way she had done when I was a little girl and needed comfort. "Baby," she said. "That is what family does. Not that fake family Gloria was selling. Real family. The family you choose. The family that chooses you back." She kissed my forehead. "You never have to go through anything alone. Not as long as I am breathing." Keisha raised her glass again. "Okay, enough with the crying. We are supposed to be celebrating. Maya, tell us the best part of the trial." What was your favorite moment? I thought about it for a moment. There were so many moments. Watching Gloria's face when Denise presented the financial evidence, hearing Darnell finally stand up to his mother, seeing the jury return a guilty verdict in less than 4 hours. But the best moment, that was easy. When Gloria lost control, I said. When she stood up in court and started screaming about how ungrateful we all were. When she showed everyone exactly who she really is. I shook my head, still amazed by it. She spent years building this image of herself as a concerned grandmother, a devoted mother, a pillar of the community, and in 30 seconds of rage, she destroyed all of it. She showed the jury the real Gloria Thompson. Denise nodded knowingly. That happens sometimes with narcissists. They hold the mask in place for so long, and then when they feel like they are losing control, it slips, and once it slips, they cannot get it back on. She spent her whole life manipulating people, Keisha said, but she could not manipulate her way out of this. No, I agreed, because this time she was not dealing with people she could control. She was dealing with the law, with evidence, with facts. I looked at Denise, and with a lawyer who was not afraid of her. Denise smiled. Gloria Thompson is not the first rich woman who thought she was above consequences. She will not be the last. But I have never lost a case against someone like her, and I was not about to start now. My mama brought out slices of her pound cake. We ate and talked and laughed and cried. We shared stories about our own difficult family members, our own battles with manipulation and control. Every woman in that room had a story. A mother-in-law who tried to undermine her, a sister who spread lies, a cousin who stole money, a father who played favorites. We had all been through our own versions of what I had experienced. Maybe not as dramatic, maybe not involving kidnapping and embezzlement, but the pattern was the same. Someone in a position of power trying to control us, trying to make us feel small, trying to take what was ours. And we had all survived. We had all fought back. We had all won. That is what I want other women to know, I said as the evening wound down. You are not alone. Whatever you are going through, someone else has been through it too. And if we made it through, so can you. Keisha nodded. That is why we need to share these stories, not just to celebrate our victories, but to give other women hope, to show them that the people who try to destroy them do not always win. My mama raised her glass one final time. To all the women who are still fighting, she said, may they find their strength, may they find their people, may they find their way to the other side. To all the women we echoed. And then we finished our wine, packed up the leftover cake, and hugged each other goodbye. As I drove home with Zuri sleeping in her car seat, I thought about how different my life was from 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I was broken, desperate, terrified. Now I was whole, victorious, at peace. Not because the pain was gone. The trauma of what happened would stay with me forever. I would probably need therapy for years to fully process it. But I had learned something important, something that changed how I saw myself and my place in the world. I was not a victim. I was a survivor. I was a fighter. And no one, not Gloria Thompson, not anyone would ever make me forget that again. 5 years later, Zuri started kindergarten. I stood at the school gates that first morning watching my daughter walk into the building with her little backpack bouncing on her shoulders. She turned around at the door and waved at me, her face split into a huge smile. Bye, Mama, she called. I love you. I love you too, baby, I called back. Have a good day. She disappeared through the doors, and I stood there crying like every other mother dropping off their child for the first time. But my tears were different. My tears carried the weight of everything we had been through, because 5 years ago, I almost lost her. 5 years ago, a woman who should have been her grandmother tried to steal her from me. 5 years ago, I fought the hardest battle of my life to keep her, and I won. Zuri did not know the full story yet. She knew that Grandma Gloria was gone, that we did not talk about her. She knew that Daddy's family was complicated. But she did not know about the kidnapping, the trial, the prison sentence. One day, when she was old enough, I would tell her everything. I would show her the court documents, the news articles, the photos from that terrible time. I would explain why her grandmother was not in her life. But for now, she was just a happy 5-year-old starting school. And that was enough. Darnell and I were still together, still married, still working on our relationship every single day. It had not been easy. The first 2 years after the trial were the hardest. We fought constantly. We went to therapy twice a week. We separated for 3 months at one point, trying to figure out if we could save what was left of our marriage. But we made it through. We rebuilt trust slowly, painfully, one honest conversation at a time. Darnell was a different man now. He had done the work to understand how his mother had manipulated him. He had learned to recognize the patterns, to see the warning signs, to stand up for himself and his family. He was a good father to Zuri. He was present, involved, devoted. He coached her little league team. He read her bedtime stories every night. He showed up in all the ways he had failed to show up for me during those terrible first weeks of her life. I forgave him, not all at once, but gradually as I watched him change and grow. Forgiveness is not a moment. It is a process. And we were still in that process, still learning to trust each other again. But we were committed. We were fighting for our family. And most days, that was enough. My career had taken off since the trial. The publicity from Gloria's case had made me something of a celebrity in forensic accounting circles. I was featured in professional journals, invited to speak at conferences, consulted on high-profile fraud cases. I used my platform to advocate for financial abuse awareness. I spoke about how abusers use money as a weapon, how they manipulate and control their victims through finances. I helped other women recognize the signs and protect themselves. My mama was still my rock. She had moved into a house just 5 minutes away from us. She was at our home almost every day, helping with Zuri cooking meals, offering the kind of unconditional love that only a mother can provide. She had been right about Gloria from the very beginning. She had seen the snake eyes when no one else did, and she had been there to catch me when everything fell apart. Keisha was still my best friend. We still had our monthly girls' nights, though the group had grown over the years. We had become a community of survivors, women who had been through difficult situations and come out the other side. We supported each other through divorces and job losses and health scares. We celebrated each other's victories and mourned each other's losses. We showed up for each other in all the ways that mattered. Denise had become one of my closest friends. The lawyer who had saved my family was now someone I trusted with my deepest secrets. She had taken several more pro bono cases since mine, helping other women who were being victimized by family members. She told me once that my case had changed her practice, that seeing what Gloria had done to me had made her more determined than ever to fight for women who were being manipulated and abused. I was proud to have been part of that change. Marcus Jr. and his family were regular visitors now. Zuri loved her cousins, loved having an extended family that actually functioned like a family should. We had holiday dinners together, summer barbecues, birthday parties. The Thompson family had healed. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough. We had built something new from the ashes of what Gloria had destroyed. And Gloria herself. She was still in prison. She had served 5 years of her 12-year sentence. She would be eligible for parole in another 2 years, but I doubted she would get it. She had been a difficult prisoner, constantly complaining, constantly trying to manipulate the guards and other inmates. I did not visit her. Neither did Darnell or Marcus Jr. She had written letters, dozens of them, but we did not read them. We sent them back unopened. She had lost everything: her freedom, her money, her family, her reputation. And she had no one to blame but herself. I thought about her sometimes sitting in her cell, thinking about everything she had thrown away. I wondered if she had learned anything, if she had grown at all, if she understood now what she had done wrong. Probably not. People like Gloria rarely change. They spend their whole lives blaming everyone else for their problems, never looking inward, never taking responsibility. But that was her burden to carry. Not mine. I had moved on. I had built a beautiful life. I had a daughter who loved me, a husband who was finally the partner I deserved, a career that fulfilled me, friends who supported me, a mother who would move mountains for me. I had everything Gloria had tried to take from me, and I was grateful. Every single day, I was grateful. I want to leave you with one final story. Last month, I received a letter, not from Gloria, from a woman I had never met. Her name was Tanya. She had watched a news segment about my case, had read the articles about what Gloria had done, and she had recognized her own situation in my story. "Dear Maya," she wrote, "I am writing to you because I do not know who else to turn to. My mother-in-law has been trying to take my children from me for 3 years. She has been telling everyone I am crazy. She has been documenting every mistake I make. She has turned my own husband against me. I thought I was alone. I thought no one would believe me. I thought I was losing my mind. But then I saw your story, and I realized I am not crazy. I am not alone. Someone else has been through what I am going through. I do not know what to do next, but knowing that you survived, that you won, that you got your life back gives me hope. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being brave enough to speak out. Thank you for showing me that there is a way out of this nightmare." I cried when I read that letter. I cried because I remembered how alone I had felt, how hopeless, how convinced I was that no one would ever believe me. And I cried because my story had reached someone who needed to hear it. I wrote back to Tanya. I gave her the name of a lawyer who could help. I gave her resources for documenting abuse. I told her she was not crazy. She was not alone. She was going to get through this. I do not know how her story will end, but I know she has a fighting chance now, and that is all any of us can ask for. This is why I share my story, not for fame or attention or sympathy, but because someone out there needs to hear it. Someone is sitting in their kitchen right now crying, wondering if they are losing their mind, wondering if anyone will ever believe them. And I want them to know, I believe you. I see you. I am with you. You are not crazy. The people who are making you feel crazy are the crazy ones. They are manipulating you, gaslighting you, trying to make you doubt your own reality. But your reality is real. Your experiences are valid. Your instincts are correct. Trust yourself. Trust your gut. Trust the voice inside you that knows something is wrong even when everyone else is telling you everything is fine. And then fight back. Fight with everything you have. Use your brain, your skills, your resources. Document everything. Find your people. Build your case. The people who are trying to destroy you, they are counting on you to give up. They are counting on you to break. They are counting on your silence. Do not give them what they want. Be loud. Be strong. Be relentless. You deserve to win. You deserve to have your life back. You deserve to raise your children, love your family, build your future without someone trying to take it all away. And you can have all of that. You just have to be willing to fight for it. I was willing. I fought harder than I have ever fought for anything. And I won. You can win too. So if you are out there listening to this story and you see yourself in what I went through, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take a breath, a deep breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And I want you to say these words out loud. I am not crazy. I am not alone. I am going to fight for what is mine, and I am going to win. Say it again, louder this time. I am not crazy. I am not alone. I am going to fight for what is mine, and I am going to win. Now believe it, because it is true. You are stronger than you know. You are smarter than they think. You are more powerful than they can imagine, and you are going to get through this. My name is Maya Thompson. I am a forensic accountant, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a friend, a survivor. 5 years ago, my mother-in-law stole my newborn baby. She tried to have me declared insane. She tried to take everything I had worked for. She failed. I got my baby back. I sent my mother-in-law to prison for 12 years. I rebuilt my marriage. I advanced my career. I found peace. And if I can do it, so can you. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for caring. Now it is your turn. Go out there and fight for what is yours. I will be cheering for you. If this story touched you, if it moved you, if it made you think about your own life and the battles you are facing, please do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another story like this. Leave a comment below. Tell me where you are watching from. Tell me what city, what state, what country. I want to know how far this message is reaching. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone who is going through their own battle right now, share this video with them. Send them a link. Let them know they are not alone. Because stories like mine, they need to be heard. They need to be shared. They need to reach the people who are still in the middle of their fight. We are all connected. We are all in this together. And together, we are unstoppable. Thank you for being part of my community. Thank you for being part of my family. I love you all. Now go out there and win. This is Maya Thompson signing off. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And never, ever, ever stop fighting for what is yours. Peace.